Hello, hello. We have a new chapter of One Punch Man. This is chapter 112. The scans for volume 20 came out. I've included these from the volume in the following pages for you all to see the back cover, the author comments, the bonus illustration, and the character introduction. So let's take a look through there. This is the very fan servicey back of volume 20. I saw this a bit ago. Pretty much every female character, no matter how minor, is getting a little bit of fan service. But I suppose most of the attractive-looking male characters get fan service too, so it's fair, and if it's fair, therefore it's fine. Is that how this works? We'll run with it regardless. I had my first acupuncture experience. My neck and shoulders mobility feels released. This is one saying this. Acupuncture seems like it has some complicated kanji going on here. But whatever. Bonus illustration showing Genos and Sonic hanging out in some pretty cool costumes. They look like scene kids from the 90s in the best possible way. This is the character introduction page, which I think is always a treat to look at. They're always kind of framed in this sort of scene where, you know, they kind of take place in the real world, quote unquote. And Saitama lifting up the manhole cover, very symbolically accurate, you know, given the Monster Association is just underneath his house. Here we see a lot of the star members of this kind of wave of Monster Association arc crawling out from underneath. But we're just getting started on this arc. Alright, so we're getting to the chapter itself. Another animated cover, so cool. Let's see if we can read any of this. Tada Sanpaku? I don't know if this is pronounced Sanpa, but this is like going for a walk. Tada something, like we're going forward. We're the strongest that, we're the strongest something. It doesn't quite matter, because Saitama is just the strongest. And down here we can see the title of the chapter is Hikari Power, the power of light. So this will be quite interesting. You know, in the last chapter we got into the opening stages of one of my favorite battles in the entire series, Black Sperm versus Atomic Samurai, which eventually becomes Black Sperm versus just everybody. Atomic Samurai, only because he's marching forward step by step. Only because he is the strongest. Okay. That's good grammar points. Yeah. Black Sperm, you know, a very easy to underestimate villain. A monster that looks like just a random mob you'd find anywhere near the start of the game. But very quickly proving that his splitting powers aren't just an annoyance to Atomic Samurai, but could be overwhelming. Let's see. He lands one punch. And this is what Atomic Samurai really becomes worried about. This is just one of the many copies of him that's capable of hitting this hard. Even after splitting, the monster still has so much power. I miscalculated its strength. This isn't good. There are too many. This is the first time probably in quite a long while that Atomic Samurai has tasted anything like despair. He's a very arrogant person, very sure of his strength, as are many in S-Class. He certainly didn't think this goofy little monster in a jumpsuit with a weird little flagellum popping out of its head would be able to do too much. Ooh! And before he can even articulate to himself his next move, he's hit with a barrage of punches. Dang. The go sound effects splattering across the page as Atomic Samurai has rained blows upon him. Alright, cool maneuver. He quickly carves a square all the way down. A shaft, a monster here incidentally getting split in half. Beautiful. I don't remember that gag being in the webcomic, but it's a gag very in line with the sort of gags they put in the webcomic. Just sort of things like incidentally happening little kind of comedic situations like this. So I don't know. Probably someone will point out that it is in the webcomic, and I forgot, which has happened many times before. But whatever, whatever. All I'm saying is that I like it. That even in this kind of dire, intense situation, there's still room for this type of humor, this kind of goofiness. Anyways, so Atomic Samurai falls down. Black Sperm, of course, pouring in after him. So pathetic. You aren't getting away. Woo! But what happens? One of the sperm is annihilated before splitting. This is, of course, the power of light we perceive. Flashing from the bottom, a beam of light shooting upwards. Dealt with space aliens that rendered my blade ineffective in the past. Been thinking about this since. Just a simple thought, but what if I just increased the number and speed of my slashes further? The range would be greatly reduced. The blade can penetrate with greater density. Constantly make slashes at one point. Technique especially meant for monsters like you. Get reduced to dust. Okay, so this is so absurd. Because we know the alien fight that he's talking about. It was a situation where he was just cutting a splitting and dividing bastard up billions and billions of times. He was regenerating, he was cutting him up again, he was regenerating. And then it was Bang that finally noticed, oh, they have these cores in them. You just grab the core and smush it. That's it, GG. So Atomic Samurai really could have learned a lesson there. There was definitely a lesson to be learned. But instead his thought is, what if I just slash them even more? What if I slash them to an even finer degree, such that whatever regenerative powers they have are surely going to get cut up at some point in this blitz of light? And in the same way before they were praising the Okama Samurai and their air slash, you know, a slash that reverberates through the air. Here it seems like Atomic Samurai has done the same thing, but with light as its medium. Just this ball of flashing slashes, kind of imperceptible from pure white light, like a beam being made by slashes. But it's just so absurd in the end that his solution is just to slash faster. That's the only thing he could come up with to face this sort of foe. And it kind of seems like it worked. It was able to annihilate some of Black Sperm before it was able to split off. It's the focused atomic slash. So he did all of that while falling through the shaft he had made. It's one tough monster. Been years since my wrists hurt like this. An unfamiliar technique. I can't go around using it too recklessly. Badass. But I don't think he should rest just yet. Oh my god, he's so cool. I have to go after the kid. Just effortlessly, so swiftly, wall jumping all the way back up the shaft. He's so cool. It's like, normally we see him kind of as this arrogant character, you know, he's sort of distanced from people, and then, you know, he's just passionate about the blade, about improving himself as the samurai. But to kind of see him more in action like this, to see him like running around and jumping and stuff, he's actually just so cool. Like, he has all the things you'd want from a samurai character. Oh boy, oh man, look at this timing. This is fantastic. This is a fantastic page turn for sure. Just when you thought perhaps he was safe, of course he had only sent just a little platoon of sperm down the shaft. Wow, that sounds really dirty. He had only ejaculated himself a little bit in his pursuit of Atomic Samurai. And now the main body, the vast majority of the trillions and trillions that make up his entire self, has been held back. Sacrificed a tiny fraction of me, which really helped. Atomic Samurai trying to whip around, fire off another of the light blasts, the focus slashes. There's no time. It's decked right in the head with a much more powerful punch than any of the ones that he had taken from a single sperm. And you can see in response, just as he's kind of getting hit away, like a Marth player desperately mashing Nair or Bear during a combo, just trying to get anything done. He does manage to land one of his famous atomic slashes. black sperm crisscrossed with all sorts of cuts. But what's the point? It's just going to turn into more. I told you it's useless. Just accept it. Someone like you, I'm the worst possible matchup. Put some thought into this. That's right. That's right. But this is exactly the sort of situation that he's ill-prepared for. A monster that he can't beat. A monster he should leave to someone else. This shot is so cool, though. Just the dynamicism of all the different black sperms. The ones that are kind of dancing out front and jumping around in the back. There's a guy back here like crowd surfing, lying on his side. Oh, it's also great. Ooh, what a great fight this is going to be. And as I said before, I just love this kind of duality where black sperm is sometimes presented as just kind of like an icon, much more in the style of the webcomic, where it's like totally flat and sort of disconnected from the world, and that has this kind of eerie, foreboding feeling of just like, Jesus, what are we actually dealing with here? But then it just juxtaposed very back to back. There's also shots where we can see the entire physical reality of black sperm. Like the very kind of realistic cinematic framing of this page, I think, is just fantastic, that we really see what he's up against, how insufficient the power of light is. Get big. All right, so he tries this one. He's in a little environmental tech. He slashed the roof to smithereens, and now the rocks are all raining down. So, the Dragon Tier battles have started. The battles against the executives of the Monster Association. There's not a whole lot left besides those. So, what that means is one of my favorite characters in the whole series is approaching. One of my favorite fights, one of the coolest matchups, and one that, you know, in the webcomic was a little more shocking because the fight against the vampire, you know, Zombie Man versus the vampire was like 2 pages, right? Vampire tries to suck his blood. He's like, this is disgusting. And he's like, what the heck, you can't die. And then Zombie Man kills him. I think it's only 2 or 3 panels. So we didn't really get to see that much of Zombie Man's regenerative power until this second fight. But now we're going to see it put to an even greater limit against a foe who's, you know, I don't even know how to begin to describe this guy. I just think everything about the way this character works is so cool. So I think that's what's being hinted at here. Zombie Man's next opponent. You know, Zombie Man, one of my favorite characters too. But this next guy. So you see a shot of black sperm freaking out as it's buried by rocks. I don't know. I have no faith in the effectiveness of this attack, but it's something. Zombie Man still kind of concerned, trying to figure out what's going on all around the Monster Association. One of the few people, you know, that's really trying to keep the entire scope of the operation in mind. Not like a lot of the other S-Class that just have gotten so fired up at this point, they're just running around looking for fights. Here he is. Are you really that concerned with the way other heroes are being killed? Ooh, here he is. He's got the crown and everything. Okay, why do I like this character so much? First off, I think his name is so cool. Homeless Emperor. You know, like, you think about homelessness. Well, you don't really think about homelessness because it's a very heavy subject. But you think about homelessness in kind of an abstracted, shonen-y way, like the version of homelessness that would show up in something like One Punch Man, where all sorts of fantastical things are happening all over the place. And then you start to think, like, maybe, you know, among the homeless there is this kind of secret under-society. Like, maybe among the homeless it isn't just everyone is impoverished and everyone has no agency or power, but that they just eschew the normal societal trappings, and there's like another counter-hegemony happening underground, which also has its powerful people and also has people with like actually a lot of control and influence over the world, but they're just so disjoint from normal society that they appear to all be en masse among the bottom. Like, this to me, again, it's like it's not like something that I think happens in reality, or that I think is any sort of even to say the word trade-off for the problem of homelessness or something is just absurd. But it's kind of an exciting idea to me that, you know, like among the outcast, among the unclassed people, there are actually those revered among that group that are a powerful threat to anyone. The homeless emperor. And then, but his powers, they're just so strange and mystical. Just like an explosion. For example, maybe they're being killed like this. Just a relentless shot of all these different cool energy attacks. An incomprehensible power. A way of fighting unlike like anyone else we'd seen, you know? Like some people have kind of beam attacks, but they seem to be totally focalized within a weapon or within like Rover's bark or in Orochi, whatever his name is. You know, he had various kind of cannons and stuff. And we see kind of psychic energy being used sort of as a blast or like a sword slash being used as a blast. But these are just like pure plasma-esque energy attacks, you know, just like being called upon from nowhere, being fired off with like a finger gun. Instant death without any time for resistance. Disaster level dragon. The homeless emperor. Oh my god. Oh! Alright, so the coolest part of this fight, the thing that I think I love most of all about it, I don't even want to talk about because I have no idea how it'll be adapted in the remake, how much more it'll be expanded upon. Things could have changed in so many different ways. But if it is different, then we'll talk about how it was in the webcomic too. But there's a really cool plot point. Something that Zombie Man does that I think is so cool. Is this the end for the one they call Hero? How underwhelming. Check the official Hero Association website, you know. There's 17 S-Class heroes, right? I can eliminate that number all by myself. And it's like, I think he's probably pretty close to right, you know? And it's only just that Gyoro was like very, okay, I think this is what happened. Gyoro was very scared of Zombie Man. The strategizing was like, at first, you know, the fact that Zombie Man went and fought the vampire wasn't really a concern. And then Homeless Emperor was deployed specifically to Zombie Man in the same way that Black Sperm was specifically deployed to where Atomic Samurai was going, right? So the first round matchups really wasn't really any thought. It was just kind of RNG. So then, like, observing Zombie Man's regenerative powers, I think she deployed Homeless Emperor just because he has these sort of massive vaporizing energy attacks. Sort of similar to the beam of light that we saw Atomic Samurai do earlier in this chapter, kind of establishing the power and the necessity for that kind of attack to overcome regeneration, to outspeed body splitting, things like that. So this makes sense from like a matchup perspective. This makes sense. Homeless Emperor is much better suited to Zombie Man than any of the other top level monsters, kind of on the surface level, right? Because of this burnt to a crisp, totally eradicated sort of thing. But moreover, like, who is a good matchup against Homeless Emperor? Aside from the fact that Zombie Man actually, well, I mean, spoiler alert, he can survive these sorts of attacks. He can survive pretty much any sort of attack. Who else could, though? Who else wouldn't just get vaporized? I don't know, man. This is so cool to me that, like, the characters can make such outlandish boasts in this series. And in a sense, you know, they can all be true. Like, I don't know. Yeah, Homeless Emperor. His power level is unreal. Just massacring Zombie Man here. Head and arms. Excuse me. Obliterated. A smoking hole where his head was. Firing again for good measure. And then a bullet firing back. You notice how Zombie Man even shot that. But before it can get to Homeless Emperor, a wall of his kind of energy spheres blocks it. So it hurts. He managed to block such a close range attack, yeah. So Zombie Man shot from just a few feet away. And Homeless Emperor, between seeing the shot or hearing the shot, his kind of latent powers protected him that quickly. So Zombie Man's feeling, I think, quite a bit of despair here. And like Homeless Emperor says, it does hurt. Like, he does feel the pain of all of these attacks. He has felt the pain now of having his ribs shattered wide open in his chest. His face being burnt to smithereens. All of these things regenerating in a process that looks quite painful too. Oh, he's just so crazy. He's so badass. Whoa, he had a gun embedded in his chest. A hidden ace, which he draws upon already, even though this fight has just begun. In a huge contrast to the True Blood vampire, whom he knew he could just have a real bloody war of attrition with for who knows how long. This one he's got to act. He's got to act quickly. He's regenerating now, but he has no idea how powerful Homeless Emperor can be. He fires off. The bullets effortlessly deflected by Homeless Emperor's energy. An amazing explosion. Look at this shot. Look at this framing. Oh my gosh. To see these little tap-down kind of isomorphic shots of the various corridors and stuff of the Monster Association, and then like all of that just as scale for the size of the explosion. And of course this isn't as big an explosion as, you know, like the fight against Orochi or things like that, but it's big enough. It's big enough for these two human class fighters staring each other down. As expected of one of the top heroes. Unfaltering, even in death. Certainly we're strong. So he's addressing what he thinks is Zombie Man's upright corpse. And is just impressed that the corpse remained upright in the aftermath of that attack. But no! No, 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 no. He ain't dead yet. The chapter's over, but he ain't dead yet. And the coolest scenes of the fight are still to come. I can't wait. I can't wait. We get in here. Ooh, I love this gif. This is fantastic. Oh man. Oh, this is so great. Oh, we're getting into the real meat of the Monster Association fight, or the Monster Association arc now. The big fights against the big monsters. And I don't know. I don't know how it'll go. Like, there's still so much to do. There's still so many kind of side scenes and side stories. I guess we're going to kind of introduce these big deal monsters, have a bit of the fight, and then of course there's the gigantic ripping the association out of the ground scene, which we're all looking forward to, which just throws everything into chaos and leads to kind of the true final showdown. So yeah, let's look forward to that. Let's just watch this GIF all day, every day, until the next chapter comes out. Nice. Okay, bye-bye for now.